Welcome to the electoral reform segment. Today we have Tishana,
Hi.
who is also a member of FTF. And between us, we'll be trying to explain the way our government works, especially with our results from our last election. I know young people in particular are kind of unclear of what the results mean, or what it means for our country. But we're not claiming to be experts, but we're just trying to get a better understanding of the way our government works.
Okay, so the government is basically, it consists of three institutions. The first one is president and the cabinet, and they're responsible for setting laws and proposing laws and policies and then sending them to parliament for approval. The second part is parliament, which is responsible for making the laws either by approving or disapproving what is being proposed. And the third part is the judiciary, which is responsible for ensuring that the laws that are passed conform with what is written in the Constitution. And another function of the judiciary is settling matters between individual citizens, which is termed civil law.
Yeah.
And the other one is ensuring that the laws are obeyed, criminal law.
The essence of parliamentary politics is that the government must have support of parliament.
Yeah, because usually when a party wins the presidency, they usually win the majority of seats in parliament.
But our experience in Guyana has almost always been that once a party wins, they get the majority in parliament. So this overall majority just means that they have more seats than the rest of seats put together.
The rest of the opposition seats.
Parliament would then approve any bills or the budget that would come from the presidency.
Yeah, so usually if the government is defeated on an important matter in parliament, they're expected to resign.
But this never really happens in Guyana because, just as the parliamentarians always conform to the party lines or they conform to the party leader.
Because just as they were selected by the party leader to be in parliament, they can be deselected.
Well, we know that these elections didn't produce a majority government, and they were different. So we would like to explain two terms, because we are kind of unsure of what it means. That is coalition parliament and minority parliament.
Coalition government usually means that the party that wins the presidency after elections, if they don't have the majority of seats in parliament, they can either come together with one or more of the opposition parties and they can have a majority in parliament. Or we can have what is called a minority government, which is where the ruling party attempts to govern the country without any formal coalition, and they prefer to take matters to parliament, hoping to get the approval of other opposition parties.
And in either case, the same basic rule applies, that if the government fails to win the majority on an important issue, whatever it may be,
they're expected to resign, or we can have a new
elections.
elections.
Might lead to new elections.
Yeah. This has never happened before in Ghana, though.
Yeah, but it's not uncommon in other parts of the world. The implications of not having majority in parliament means now that the ruling party now has to negotiate more with the opposition parties.
Yeah, it also means that the opposition parties can come together to outvote the ruling party or the government.
And parliament will just be more flexible and real, and
it's
not just
a rubber stamp for whatever the government wants. And what are some advantages of having a coalition or a minority government? It means that now all parties have a realistic chance of influencing decisions in parliament.
And in a society like ours, where the parties are based on race, this negotiating and collaborating brings the parties together and brings the races together.
Yeah, so now they actually have to overlook race in order to get stuff done. They have to meet each other halfway and bargain and negotiate to do stuff for the country.
Disadvantages of the minority government. The parties are not accustomed to working together. So this can be a real learning curve for them.
Yeah, so if the parties don't negotiate, it can lead to a lot of confrontations in parliament, and this can make the ruling party very unstable.
And unstable government is not good.
It's not good for the country.
Yeah. So what does the change from a majority to a minority government mean for us as ordinary citizens? Well, for one, the parliamentarians now have to consider what the ordinary person thinks and wants done. And in that way also, the citizens now have to find imaginative ways of actually influencing the politicians. I mean, getting things done doesn't always mean resorting to the streets.
Yeah, because in a way, being on the streets usually means there's a breakdown in communication between the ordinary citizens and politicians. So right now, government officials and members of parliament should try to make themselves more accessible to citizen groups in order to look at specific issues that they may need action done on, such as reckless driving or street lighting in a particular community. Different issues, corporal punishment.
So there are a lot of reasons to feel encouraged by what the election results produced. But there are also a number of challenges for the politicians and civil society for making it work.
So we at FTF hope that it's a bit more clear of the change from a majority parliament to a minority parliament, what the change means for us as ordinary citizens. So this brings us to the end of this segment. Let's go over to Tiari to see what our young people are up to in the Community Challenges segment.